Right, Bim, guess what? We're back. Do apologise. I think I think the Russians possibly nobbled my internet connection then. But anyway, we are back and we are doing What a Week That Was. Earlier, I had a minute's silence for the tragedy that occurred in Pemberton whilst I was doing this broadcast last week. Obviously, I was unaware of it at the time, but now we're going to carry on and crack on. So, what's been in the news this week? Well, quite a bit actually, and a lot of it is very, very strange and very, very weird, including the sun deciding that it doesn't like Earth anymore. Not that it ever did anyway, I don't think. Hiya Shirley, Smiley, sorry. Oh, I'm having one of them days, I tell you. So yeah, we got a geomagnetic storm from the sun to hit the Earth, which was meant to knock out some satellites and whatever. It might have just knocked out my internet connection. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the Russians after all. Maybe it was the sun having a go at me. Anyway, then of course we had Boris, who went to Ukraine to meet President Zelensky in Kiev, in the capital, where recently the bombs have started coming back again. A few leaders have been there now, just showing and basically sticking two fingers up to Vladimir Putin. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The best thing that could possibly happen to him is him getting two fingers stuck up at him. So they had a meeting, and basically Zelensky asked for anti-ship missiles and weapons. Now I wrote this on Monday. There's a relevance to that, because in the last 24 hours or so, the German warship, whose name escapes me, just bear me a second, Moskva, was sunk in the Black Sea. Now the Black Sea is near Ukraine, and anyway, it basically sunk, and Ukraine is saying it sunk because they hit it with missiles, and Russia is saying it's got nothing to do with Ukraine. It sunk because it was had a fire on it, and the fire ended up in the bit where they keep the ammunition, and that's what blew it up, and that's what made it sink. I know which one I'd sooner believe, and it's not the Russians. It was a big warship for Russia, and they were very proud of it as well. In fact, fairly recently, in the last couple of years or so, President Putin had been to visit it and done a walk around on it, and done all the bits and pieces that you do when you go visiting a warship, which was very, very good indeed, because we've sunk it. I say we. It's ironic though, isn't it, that Zelensky asked for anti-ship missiles, and by the end of the week a Russian massive ship has sunk. Thankfully, all the or majority, if not all, of the sailors on board escaped, because the ship was being towed, so it wasn't as big a disaster as it could have been. Yeah, all's well that ends well. That was the beginning of the week for Boris, up there meeting world leaders that everyone thinks we wish had them as a world leader. And then by the end of the week, he's on the back foot again, because he's now got fines for attending parties that he did not attend, he says, at Downing Street during lockdown. It's one of them things, I'm just getting a bit fed up of hearing about it now. So we need to crack on and do more important things than worry about this, I think. But him and Rishi, who stood there at podiums saying stay at home, protect the NHS, to be fair, stayed at home because they live in Downing Street, and just attended a few parties. Yeah, okay, it's not that simple. And maybe Boris should resign. And Rishi's had a really bad couple of weeks. I mean, everyone was thinking that Rishi Sunak was going to be the next great leader of our country, but he's just kind of completely dropped the ball since he did his autumn statement, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. We were talking 2 weeks ago about the autumn statement, and he's filling up this car, and then he tries to pay contactless by touching this debit card thing on the glass between him and the guy serving the petrol, and it wasn't even his car, it was someone else's car. Then his wife turns out to be a non-dom, which means she's not paying taxes in this country. And then he gets a fine for attending parties that he categorically, even more than Boris, said that he didn't attend. He just kind of walked into a room where there were people doing stuff. So, yeah, it's all a bit of a nightmare for poor old Rishi. And it's a shame, really, because I think Rishi was a good guy. But it just shows you they're all human and they're all the same, aren't they, when it comes down to it. Another politician having a bad week is the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. Now, he has been ousted and replaced, and he's blaming America for this because he went to Russia before or on the day that Russia invaded Ukraine to see President Putin. But if you look at it, this is going on a lot longer than the war in Ukraine. And I don't think America gives a monkey's left dangly bit as to who's running Pakistan, as long as it's not disturbing anyone else. So yeah, I think it's just his time was up. I mean, he's a former cricketer and all that, so he knows what it's like to be out. See what I did there? And he is out, which is a tragedy, really. If you like Imran Khan. If you don't like Imran Khan, then it's a brilliant thing. Talking of being out and cricket, see, they link them together. Poor old Joe Root, the England captain, has lost his job. It's one of these, I think, mutual consent things. I don't think he's been necessarily sacked, but he's certainly been shown where the door is, and then he's chosen to walk through it. After a very disappointing time in the last couple of years of being in charge of the England cricket team. I'm sure when he first took over we had some good times, but it's been back to business as usual. If you've been following cricket, I mean, I don't follow cricket at all, but I've been aware of cricket and England being rubbish for years and years and years. So yeah, I don't think they're actually doing that badly in the world rankings, but the matches that people want them to win, which is the Ashes and Tests and stuff like that, they're just not winning. So he had to go. So Joe Root might have been the root of the problem. Talking of root, rooted pretty much to the bottom of the Premier League is Burnley Football Club, and Sean Dyche, who has been the manager for almost 10 years, the longest serving manager in the Premier League, has tonight lost his job. They are 4 points beneath the relegation zone, i.e. they've got to score at least 4 points to get out of the relegation zone, assuming no one else around them scores any points. There's 8 matches left. To be fair, I would probably give them to the end of the season. I don't see the point of changing a manager at this juncture. It should have done it either at Christmas or should do it in the summertime, because I think the fate of Burnley is sealed, and he has brought them up again a couple of times, and I think it's lack of investment more than anything else that causes this issue. Although I don't know, because I ain't a football pundit by any stretch of the imagination. What else has gone on today, this week even? Oh, Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, he is buying at the moment, LOKMB, he is buying at the moment, or wanting to buy, the whole of Twitter. Now, we said last week that he'd bought just under 10% shares in Twitter, which makes him the biggest shareholder. He's been invited onto the board of Twitter because he is the biggest shareholder, but now he wants to buy the whole thing. IJT, as in everything. He wants 100% control of Twitter. Now, that could either be the best thing ever for Twitter, or it could be no one ever uses Twitter again. But what else is there like Twitter? Well, nothing. So we probably just have to keep with it. Talking of things going up, which we were. Oh no, yeah, we are. Elon Musk SpaceX rocket has delivered fare-paying passengers to the space station. Now, allegedly, the fare they paid was $43 million each to go to the space station. As far as I'm aware, they're still there now. But that picture there does look like something out of a 1970s futuristic space movie. But I think that's where he gets his inspiration from. And if you saw when the SpaceX landed a couple of years ago, I did a tweet on it because they'd got it on the deck and it was all being streamed live and everything, and then they opened the door up and I'm like, oh my god, it looks like a Cyberman's head. which I tweeted. Anyone else see this as a Cyberman's head? And basically, that tweet nearly went viral. Not quite, but nearly went viral. So basically, it looked like that, with this bit round the top, the two eyes for the windows, and where the mouth is was the door. And it was like, this guy is, everything he does is just designed off stuff from the 70s. But anyway, maybe you could take Twitter back to the 70s, and you actually have to type it in and then send a letter in, and then they'll post it up for you, because obviously there was no internet web back in the day. Don't forget to join in the conversation, because it's very boring if I'm just talking. Inflation, basically what stuff costs, has reached a record high. No, I mean, not a record high ever, but certainly a record high for the last many years, at 7%. Most of this is from gas, petrol, oil, going up in price around the world. It's not a UK thing. It's nothing to do with Brexit. It's nothing to do with whoever's in government. It is a worldwide problem that inflation is going up because of energy prices going up, gas and oil. And they're only going to go higher, particularly if Europe decide that they're not going to buy any more oil and gas off Putin, because that is paying for the war that we're currently enduring in Ukraine. So, yeah, 7%. I think in 6 months' time we might look back at 7% and say, God, do you remember when it was only 7%? Do you remember when petrol was less than £2 a litre? The stuff we can do, and I think I discussed this last week, and funnily enough, it felt like someone was watching my broadcast, because a couple of days later on the news, they were talking about bringing fracking back as a temporary thing. Exactly, not collecting it ourselves, as DC says. It's almost like being dependent on one place and not collecting it ourselves. It's short-sighted. That's basically exactly what we've done. We have reduced the mining that we do, coal mining. We've reduced the oil we're getting from the North Sea and gas, because we've been buying it elsewhere, which never makes sense to me anyway, no matter where you buy it from. If you fall out with that country and you're relying on it, and they decide for whatever reason, when Trump was in charge of America, there's a possibility that he may have spat his dummy out with Europe and stopped supplying stuff to Europe, because they do supply quite a lot of energy to Europe. And at the moment, I think we're getting most of our gas from America, or certainly a lot of it anyway. But we've got gas, we've got oil, and we've got coal here. So what we need to do is, while we wean ourselves off fossil fuels, because that's not going to happen overnight, what we need to do is we need to become self-sufficient, or as near self-sufficient as we can be. And by that, I mean get fracking back, because that's something we've not actually tapped into yet. And everyone keeps telling us it's going to be dirt cheap gas. Brilliant. Get the North Sea. There are some of the wells that have been abandoned because they weren't cost effective, but that was when oil was like 2/3, half the price it is now. So now it is cost effective, more so because we're not relying on other people. Now it's still subject to world market prices, which I don't quite understand if it's in our own territory, but at least we get it ourselves, and it's supplying us and supplying us with our own energy. But like I said, it is a global issue. It's not something that we can solve ourselves, but we can certainly reduce our reliance on everyone else for it. And same with corn, because Ukraine and Russia export a lot of corn and grain. And obviously with the war in Ukraine and Russia being someone you don't want to deal with, that means that a lot of crops are going to get wasted in those countries, but that means there's going to be a lot of food shortages in Europe. Obviously that hasn't hit yet, because we're still using the stuff grown last year, and the stuff that we would get this year is currently in the ground growing, or about to be sown to be growing, because you do the harvest at the end of the summer. So we haven't felt that one yet, but we will feel that one, and that will put up the prices of food. So we've got to be more self-sufficient. We've got to encourage farmers to start growing plants, growing wheat and stuff again. It's all right having all these, we want to convert fields into nature reserves on farms, and we'll pay the farmers for it. That's well and good, but you can do that by just getting them to replace the hedges, and then you'd have a corridor for the animals to go along around the fields. But we need the fields to be producing food, because we are going to be running out of food. Flour, wheat, corn, all these things. A lot of it comes from the Soviet area, East Europe. So we need to make sure that we've got enough for ourselves. I mean, it's tricky, the world, putting the brakes on manufacturing for a little while. Less supply, and now the demand is back where it was. It's higher than it was. The problem you had is COVID came along. The whole world went into lockdown for, well, it depends where you're at, but various periods of time. I mean, don't forget, at the moment in China, there's some major lockdowns in cities like Shanghai and stuff like that, because of the pandemic, which is just kicking off again there. There's also a new variant which is kicking off and has been found in about 3 or 4 countries, which is as transmissible as the Omicron, but is a lot more potent, shall we say. So there's nothing to say in 6 months' time, or autumn time, we might not be back in lockdown again. Hopefully not. Hopefully that phase has passed. But there is a possibility that that might well happen. So what we need to do in the meantime is we need to make sure we are self-sufficient, or more self-sufficient. The reason why the oil prices and the gas prices have gone up is because no one was buying it, because no one was driving cars, no one was in offices, air conditioning, no one was flying around the world. So basically they reduced the amount that they were pumping out. But now demand's come back. They've not really increased the amount they're making, because they're thinking, well, if the price goes up, we make more money. So you've got obviously your Russia and all that, but you've also got the Arab states as well, who are sitting on all this oil, but they're not really producing a lot more, because they're getting so much for what they are producing. Why would you produce more and your price come down? So we need to look after ourselves, and we need to make sure that we are as self-sufficient as we can be, and that means investing again in the North Sea, looking into fracking, and maybe looking at getting some coal again from obviously our own land. But I know that's controversial, and I know that's not very green, but there's no way on this earth that in 6 months like that we're all going to have electric cars. Not that they're the future, but I've said this so many times. And we're not all going to have wind turbines on our houses and things like that. That's just not going to happen overnight. So we have to keep going on what we've got for the time being. And like I said last week, and the week before, and the week before that, it matters not one jot what we do. We could quadruple our output of greenhouse gases, and it wouldn't make a jot of difference to the rest of the planet. As it doesn't, that we've reduced ours by over 66% in the last 10 years, 20 years. The Good Life TV show was self-efficient. It was, because all the crops they grew in the garden, they used to feed the crew with. I made that up, but it's a possibility. But yeah, we've got to be self-sufficient again. I'm not saying we have to necessarily start growing our own veg in our garden. I don't think we're quite that stage yet. Or, digging a big, drilling a massive hole in your back garden so you can get the fracking gas out yourself. No, we're not at that stage. But we do need to look at sorting out energy at the moment, so that we are not relying on countries that we can't rely on, if you get me. I hope you get me. Anyway, complete change of tack now. Brooklyn Beckham got married this week. Yeah, I don't actually care. Imagine coal mining with all this health and safety rules. Yeah, I know what you mean. It would be a different world. Every house to have a wind turbine. Yes, but more important things, cars do higher and higher miles per gallon, therefore reducing the tax on the amount of fuel we need. The government finds a way to get its hands on the money. Yeah, but the government's chopped off 5% of that, to be fair. We're talking about energy. Let's go back to that one, shall we? Because I don't care about Brooklyn Beckham getting married. It's like the most irrelevant thing in the world. I don't even know why it's news. But yeah, there's a lot of people going to be struggling. I don't just mean, the poorer people. I mean, rich people as well. You imagine trying to heat. Thankfully, we're coming into... I've turned my central heating off. I've turned it down over the last couple of weeks, but I've actually turned it off today because we're actually finally getting warmer. Very late this year, and maybe that's to do with global warming as well. The fact that it's like, no, you're going to use all your energy in order to make it warmer, and what I'll do is, because I'm the world, I'm going to make it not warmer. Because that's what it does. Justice was done this week. The killer of David Ames was given a full life sentence. Now, obviously, the trial's on. It's finished now, and the guy's been named. But we should never hear his name again. If he's ever referred to in the news again, what they should say is the murderer of Sir David Ames, not his name. Like, for example, when terrorists kill people anywhere in the world, and then their name is broadcast every time that event is mentioned, and it's like, no. It's like the tragedy that happened in Manchester a few years ago, where the coward terrorist killed children and young people at a Ariana Grande concert. Whenever that is mentioned, they mention his name or his brother's name. That's making them immortal. That is what they want. They've been told if they carry out a terrorist attack, suicide bomber or whatever, they will get immortality. Now, to them that means, you know, living forever with a bazillion virgins or whatever. But what actually happens is they get immortality because every time that event is mentioned, their name gets mentioned. So what you should say is, when you're referring to the Manchester Arena bombing, the murderer who murdered, the murderer or the terrorist who murdered so-and-so and 21 other people, and go through the names alphabetically. So if you're BBC News, then you've got the list of 22 names, and you mention their names. We need to remember the people who died, not the person who killed these people. And it is ridiculous, and it really gets on my nerves, that terrorists become immortal because their name just keeps getting mentioned over and over and over again. Like, for example, the Beatles in America, the trial there, the terrorists in ISIS who beheaded innocent people, filmed it, put it all over social media and everything, and they're getting named all the time. And I'm like, no, we don't name them. We say the person who murdered, and then we name the people they murdered. We remember the people who got murdered. We do not remember the people carrying out these hideous crimes. My thoughts on that one. I got a bit ranted then, I do apologise. But I'm right. That's the thing. No one answered that one. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, this guy here is an Englishman who lives in Ukraine, has been part of the Ukraine Marines for a while, not just since the war, and then recently got captured because he's in Mariupol, and they run out of food, ammunition and all that, so they basically give themselves up to the Russian army, and now, with a massive cut on his head, he's being shown off on Russian TV as, look, we've caught this British man, we are winning this war, we are great, all that kind of propaganda that you get. And you know what it reminds me of? Again, only a few people get this, particularly of a certain age, but what was he called? I had the name on the tip of my tongue and it's gone now. But the Iraqi president, and they had some British families who they captured, and they were all paraded around in the president's very palatial office, being shown how they were being looked at. Right, are we back? Yeah, we're back. No, everyone, yeah, we're back then. I don't know what happened. I think Saddam Hussein has been thwarting my internet. Anyway, as I was saying, Saddam Hussein had this young child, and I vaguely remember him being in white shorts and a white t-shirt, and Saddam Hussein was patting him on the head like he was a dog or something, and you're like, what are you doing? This is not helping your cause whatsoever. But we're not having individuals being told to say stuff in front of cameras for propaganda purposes from Russia. And I'm not saying the Ukrainians are, by any stretch of the imagination, innocent. But let's be honest. They didn't invade anyone. They didn't ask for this. They're just defending their property. They're defending their thing. And fair play to them. That's what I say. So, yeah. Meanwhile, today has been the hottest day of the year so far. Hot. It's been hot. Yes, Toff, I did curse it when I said about the storm could not affect anything. And a nightmare today. This is the worst it's ever been. Oh, well, Smiley, welcome back. So yeah, it's been the hottest day ever. Shorts on today for the first time this year and went outside. Right, we're back. Right, we're back again. Ugh, the internet today is rubbish. I feel like I've got 1 billion people using my internet. That's what the problem is. It can only do so much, even though it's supposed to be. Try pausing the download for the Super Mario 64 HD graphics pack. Yeah, very good. Meanwhile, the government has decided to sell off Channel 4. Now, not a lot of people realise that Channel 4 is owned by the government. Why they want to sell it off, I've got no idea. Channel 4 is probably my most watched channel. What do I watch on there? I watch Gogglebox, I watch Last Leg, I watch 8 or 10 Cats Does Countdown, I watch... there's Dairy Girls on there, but I do watch Dairy Girls. Well, I watch a lot of stuff on there anyway. It's probably my favourite channel. But it doesn't get money from us, like the BBC. It gets money from advertising. So it kind of is self-sufficient in that respect. So I don't understand quite why the government want to sell it off. It just seems a bit pointless. And I think being what it is, it allows things on that other channels wouldn't do. Commercial channels, that is. Like, for example, you know, having disabled presenters, because that's not really a thing that goes anywhere else. Just a way of making money, I suppose. I don't know, but it's very, very disturbing, and it should not be allowed to be sold, because I like Channel 4. I mean, I love The Inbetweeners. I know that was a few years ago now. I thought the movies were rubbish, but the first 2 series of Inbetweeners were amazing, and the last one was okay as well. Bus stop beeps and, you know, things like that. Briefcase beep, all that kind of gubbins. I thought it was great. But yep, they're selling it off. ITV said they want to go for it and make it into a super channel. Oh my god, ITV have got enough channels as it is, and they're all rubbish. I don't watch Coronation Street. I don't watch EastEnders, although I watch more EastEnders than I do Coronation Street, to be fair. I don't know. I don't like Out on Deck. I don't watch ITV2. The only thing I watch on ITV2 is Plebs, and is that on ITV2? Is that Young Offenders? Is that on ITV2? I don't think it is. But yeah, the only thing I watch on ITV2 is Plebs, because that is hilarious, no matter how many times you've seen it. And plus the number of guest stars on there is brilliant. So yeah, I'm not overly enamoured with that happening. Will Babe Station stay the same? What did I say that out loud? I didn't even know Babe Station was still a thing. I'll be honest with you. It's something I never understand, why people want to look at stuff in order to stimulate. But yeah, there you go then. So what a week it's been. From the least important thing that's probably happened so far this year, Brooklyn Beckham getting married, could not care less, to justice being done for the killer of Sir David Amis, and justice being done in part for Boris and Rishi, and Boris going to see Zelensky, President Zelensky in Ukraine. We'll have some good news for the end then. Yeah, go on. We're not there at the end yet though, so I'll let you know. You can type it in and then press the button when I say now. We've had SpaceX has been sending people to the space station, but they have to pay to go there. Wanting to go to a space station probably is Imran Khan, because let's be honest, he's got nowhere else to go. We've had massive technical issues this week with the, I assume it's the geomagnetic storm that's affected me today very badly. Inflation has gone up worldwide, but that's because of oil prices worldwide and gas prices worldwide, rather than anything that we've done as a government. The ship, Russian ship, has sunk. Different reasons why. Ukraine's saying they hit it with two ship destroying missiles, and the Russians saying that's not true. What it was a fire which ended up in the Argos armory, which then blew the ship up, which made it sink, although it was being towed in at the time. Yep, you're right, Toff. Elon Musk wanted to buy the whole of Twitter, and someone's got more time to spend on Twitter now is Joe Root. Today has been let go as captain of the England Test cricket side, as has Sean Dyche. He too, Burnley, has been sacked as their manager as they hover above relegation. We've had a guy from Britain being paraded on Russian TV, having been captured in Ukraine. We've also had the hottest day of the year so far. Not quite hot enough for middle-aged men like me to walk around with the tops off, but it's getting there. You have been warned. And Channel 4 getting sold off. So that's been a week. That was. But apparently we're going to end on some very good news. I'm very worried about this. But Smiley, it's over to you. Smiley Mac 2001. The little squirrel from Ice Age has a new short where he finally gets the acorn as the company comes to an end. Oh, that is nice. I have seen Ice Age 1 and 2, and to be fair, the best thing in it was the squirrel trying to get his acorn. So it's nice that at the end of the series of movies or whatever, he actually gets his acorn. That's actually warmed my heart after a terrible week it's been for everyone. I didn't even mention the council meeting I went to. That was a farce. But there'll be more of that coming up. Don't forget political stuff as well. We are doing... I'm currently standing as an independent candidate for my local ward for the elections on the 5th of May. So there'll be some more videos coming up very soon. I've had a week off because I've been babysitting this week. My grandkids for 3 days, from like early morning for me till early evening. A 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So that's exhausted me, I'll be honest. But it's been great fun as well. So yeah, it's been a good week personally for me, but not the best week ever for the planet, unfortunately. Anyway, thank you to Smiley, Toff, DC number 9, Kieran, JT, for joining in the chat today. It's been fun, and we'll do it all again next week when we will see what a week that was. Until next time, bye. Sorry for the technical delays and issues and things, but I've been having engineers in from GB News. Oh yeah, and I've been sabotaged by Russia and the sun. Not the newspaper, the actual solar thing.